Hi, I'm Liz Rice from Aqua Security, and today I wanted to introduce you to a plugin that we wrote for kubectl called Who Can, which makes it easy to see who has RBAC permissions to perform different operations on different resources in your Kubernetes cluster. So we've written this as a plugin that you can obtain from krew. If you haven't come across krew, it's a bit like brew, but for Kubernetes. So it's a list of installable plugins that you can use to extend the functionality of kubectl. So I have that set up on this machine, and you can see the set of commands. Once you've installed krew, you can then install additional plugins. So if I take a look at the ones I've currently got installed, I've got krew itself and I have Who Can. And we can also take a look at some info about that using krew. Info about Who Can tells us that it shows us which subjects could be users or service accounts or groups. So Who Can will tell us which of those subjects can perform different operations, verbs, on different types of resources according to the RBAC permissions that they've got configured. So, for example, if I look at Who Can get pods, and by default this is going to look at the default namespace. And there are a few different types of subject Who Can that were set up mostly by the system service accounts. These are all set up with cluster role bindings, and you can see there are none assigned through regular namespace role bindings. But if I do the same thing for the example namespace, I actually have a service account set up here that does have some permissions, and at least permissions to get pods in that namespace. And we can check that out here. So the Liz user on this machine is configured with a kubeconfig file that matches that service account. So I can, if I try to do get pods on the default namespace, it gives me a forbidden error message because I don't have those permissions. But if I try to do it in the example namespace, I do have those permissions. And we can also check whether or not this user or which users can delete pods, let's say, in that namespace. There are no role bindings assigning that permission to delete pods. Liz doesn't appear in this set of subjects. So hopefully, if I try to, well actually let's delete a particular pod, example Redis, let's say, and that's in the example namespace. And as expected, I don't have permission to do that. So Who Can makes it really easy to see who has been assigned these permissions. And that's going to make it much easier than looking through the roles and the role bindings that grant those permissions. So you can find the krew plugin for Who Can. One way you can do this is you can search, and probably the best thing to search for is who or Who Can, and that will list it for you. And all you need to do to install it then would be krew install Who Can. I already have it installed, so I don't need to run that. So I hope you find the Who Can plugin useful. Do hit us up in the comments if you have any thoughts about that. And if you like this video, search for Aqua Security Open Source on YouTube, where you'll find more little videos like this from our team. Thanks.